Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TTV Podcast, episode 325.
With great power comes great raspberry waffles.
Don't finish that sentence. I'm sick of it.
Oversaturation. Hey, I'm
Hey,
Meso.
just like Spider-Man movies. Hey, I'm Bar.
Hey, I'm Eljay.
Hey, I'm Ben.
Hey, I'm Invi.
And once again, welcome to the TTV Podcast 325, our Spider-Man Far From Home spoiler review.
We sound so unexcited,
Yeah,
considering
so
I think everybody
early
here
in the
loved this
morning.
movie.
I don't think anyone got good sleep last night.
I
We
mean,
did
No.
get good sleep,
I
and
got-
I just woke up in too close proximity.
yeah, I
My
got good
sleep was far from well.
I got good sleep. I just don't know. Well, no, I'm fine. What am I talking about? You guys are the
I got a
lazy
good peep.
lumps.
Yeah, I'm
You're a
fine.
lazy lump.
I just decided to wake up as late as possible, though.
I have a lazy lump on my neck right next to the mole.
Wait, I can't tell when you're joking about these things.
I have a lazy lump in my brain.
Var, I'm so sorry to hear that.
My doctor calls it a
This is
tumor.
the worst timing.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, too much.
like Var, you could say,
It's
"Oh
been,
yeah, I have a toe disease, and they have to amputate my foot because of it."
I have a
I have
toe growing
cancer.
out of my eyeball.
Okay. Holy
What in the
crud.
world?
Yeah, that's crazy, Var. Sorry to hear that.
So speaking of cancer, this movie, right? This movie was like
Wow,
Not-
off on the right foot.
bad.
No, it was good. It was great.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Cancer,
They
cancer's
cured
bad,
mine.
but the movie wasn't.
Quick warning for anyone involved: we will be discussing a lot of spoilers for anyone invested, not involved. A lot of
Do
spoilers
you
for
wanna
every
do
single
non-spoilers?
aspect of the movie.
Honestly,
So
I think we'd be wasting a lot of time if we just sat here trying to talk about the movie without going into spoilers. This is a
I
spoiler-heavy
agree.
movie.
what I think
Okay.
we should say is
Here's the
number
brief
one: should you
non-spoiler
say
review.
it? Number two: should you see it? Number two: is it good? The answers to both are yes from everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is
If you're a
absolutely.
fan of Spider-Man, you will absolutely love it. If you're not a fan of Spider-Man and you're kind of indifferent about Marvel movies, well, you'll probably still
You might
enjoy
like
it
it. I
anyway.
don't know. I think if you like Spider-Man as a character, this movie is absolutely a must-see. If you like, I mean, I would personally say it's on the same quality as Spider-Verse in terms of Spider-Man stories. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you liked Homecoming, I mean, this is Homecoming too. It is a proper sequel. It is everything you liked about the first one built upon it. More Homecoming. That's what you're getting here. So.
Essentially, there is really no better way to put it succinctly than that. So, with that said, we can move along to the actual spoiler discussion, which is going to take up the bulk of this episode.
That's your spoiler alarm.
Spoiler!
You definitely want to go in this movie blind if you can. So if you're
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
still
Yeah,
watching,
don't
Yeah.
spoil yourself. You're a freaking idiot if you spoil yourself.
if you're watching this blind, or
I
if you're,
spoiled myself on everything in the movie.
yeah, don't be a mess.
Yeah. No, this
But-
this is the one time I'm actually going to agree with the general consensus here. Do not do that. It's a very
Yeah, this is
you can placebo your way into enjoying it with the spoilers, but you should really be going in blind.
this
I'm
is
gl-
the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just like with being spoiled. Yeah, there were like a few elements that, watching probably the first half of the movie, I felt like it's like, sort of felt like it ruined it. But honestly, I guess I knew a lot less than I actually did because I was still very surprised by a lot of the movie. But still, it's not fun to go into the movie feeling like you had it like
Yeah,
ruined, even if
I
you
think-
didn't in the end.
this is a perfect example of a movie where if you were to break it down into bullet point format and just look at the details of exactly what happened in it,
It can sound dumb.
it will sound really stupid.
Could it be that much worse than Endgame?
It's
Endgame's
about the
plot.
same. It was about the same levels of pre-release controversy. Because what I did was get a Reddit aggregate of what people thought about the movie before it came out, and all I saw was like, wow, Mysterio is another like disgruntled Stark Industries employee. We haven't seen that like 3 to 4 times before. Tony Stark poaching Peter's villains for his own agenda again. It's like the Spectre will never die. He's still way too involved in Peter's life. And then they reveal his secret identity at the end to just kill any hope of a proper adaptation of the character. And then while we're at it, Nick Fury and Maria Hiller's scrolls, so great. We're bringing in Captain Marvel because everybody
See,
loves
this is why I don't go on
Marvel,
Reddit
right?
because you're saying all these things and you're saying them in a tone where
Yeah.
they should be bad, but honestly, I'm cool with every single one of them.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. Once you see the movie, it's like, oh, well, this movie is great. All the
You
stuff
can-
that happened was great.
All of those things are what made the movie great, what made the movie work.
Anything can be casted in a negative light.
Yeah.
Is essentially how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, except the Nick Fury thing, but we'll get into that later. I don't know what to make of that, but everything else is literally like, oh yeah, this is part of what makes the movie good, and you got to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Agreed.
I
Anyone
agree as
who
well.
who goes into this movie thinking, "Oh my God, hopefully there's no Iron Man at all," is like you're living in a dream world.
I think
If you go into any MCU movie thinking that it's not
There's
going to
no
have any sort of
Iron Man.
influence by Iron Man, I mean, it's like, come on.
listen, we are in a MCU film. This is an MCU Spider-Man. So obviously, when with that in mind, the MCU is going to play into the plot of the film.
Not just
Yeah.
an MCU movie, but the first movie after his death.
And if you haven't grown to accept like Peter's relationship with Tony in the movies by this point, it's like, why are you?
It's not gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd go into this movie thinking that's not going to be addressed. Like
Yeah.
the movie, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. So, I don't know.
I think with the big two complaints people have, that they always have had. We talked about this before in Homecoming review, since it
Thank you.
was, Peter's too, aka he doesn't have personal autonomy. People throw up Uncle Ben, Uncle Ben, Uncle Ben. We need Uncle Ben. That creates a false premise of we need comic accuracy.
Mhm.
Whereas what I think they're trying to say is we need Peter to have. I want to say we need purple. We need Peter to have a personal guilt investment responsibility that drives his motivations.
Right. Which I would
and-
say, I think there's something to be said about that element being missing from Homecoming.
Yeah.
I mean,
was. All I
it
wanted to
was
do was
hinted
impress.
at. It was a little bit of there, but I think they very much addressed that issue with this film. I think they
It
tackled
feels like in that movie, Peter was kind of over it, and he was way past it. And I don't think that's something that anybody's used to, really.
right.
We're
Well,
always used to Peter being like, "Oh, my Uncle Ben."
Yeah, I think the thing is, well, it's funny because it's actually, if anything, it's a bit more comic book accurate. But I think we're used to the narrative that we've seen in the previous films where
Right,
he
yeah.
doesn't become Spider-Man until that that monumental moment in his time where his decision making leads to an ultimate tragedy. That's where he learns responsibility. That's not actually
Right.
how it goes. He becomes Spider-Man first, but he's just kind of a jerk, and he uses his abilities incorrectly by going to the wrestling ring and everything. But yeah. So I mean, it's sort of like we're doing the responsibility thing. It's just coming a little bit after the fact, a little later than we're used to.
Yeah, it's a different narrative than what everybody's used to, and I mean, the Raimi movies have been around so long, so it's like I don't blame people for having that association. And plus, the Amazing Spider-Man movie didn't really help by basically telling the same story all
Yeah.
over again, as if it's the correct one. So,
Mhm.
I could see why people, if you're a fan of the older movies, and then you're going into this movie thinking, "Oh, they got it wrong," it's like, okay, I don't blame you for thinking that way, but I mean, maybe you're wrong.
I think ultimately it comes down to for me as a Spider-Man fan, all I want to see is that they are able to adapt the character and all the things that make him Spider-Man. when it comes to the details themselves, I think those matter less. So as long as we're still getting the core aspects of his character, the balance between superhero life and normal high school life, the understanding that with great power comes responsibility, all that
All those
stuff.
hallmarks of Spider-Man.
Yeah, as long as those are brought in, I don't really care how they do it, so long as they do it.
Right, as long as
So-
the theming is there.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people who are a bit too caught up in the details, the superficial elements of those, because it's not what they're used to. And I mean, I was one of them. I think once they did the whole like MJ thing with Zendaya in the first film, there was that big controversy where I mean, I didn't really like that either. But I think this film does a great job of remedying that a lot, and it really goes to show like you can do something different and still be true to the original source material. You can look at the Amazing Spider-Man films as a perfect example of films who take the superficial elements that people are saying are missing from the MCU Spider-Man and see that just having those details doesn't necessarily mean they're adapting the character well.
Or that, one or the other.
Yeah, like you can have a movie with Uncle Ben who does the great power, great responsibility line more or less, and it still feels like fluff that isn't actually true to the character. Whereas you have this film that doesn't have Uncle Ben at all. So
No, you're right. It's definitely done very well. But tying it all back in, pre-release, because I have that perspective. Opinions are very negative of this movie for a lot of reasons, and it's been immensely satisfying to just watch everything like flip like a tilted hourglass, and just to say I had to go back to the other side at a rapid pace. Because honestly, I don't want to like overhype because nothing's perfect. There are already like a few minor quibbles that you could say about this movie, but honestly, you all know, listeners, I'm a nitpicky person. I like to critique things. I like to pick things apart. I'm still pissed off about the magic belt years later. I care about things that...
Gosh dang, stupid. You're the reason we can't have fun throwaway lines.
I care about things other people probably wouldn't care about. And yet, after about 48 hours of reflection on this movie, almost 48 hours, I really do not have anything to complain about. Honestly. The characters are great. The music is great. The action is like 10 times better than Homecoming. The plot is like 3 times better than Homecoming, with more emotional moments, more interesting twists, etc. The structure is good and never leaves you feeling bored. The split between school and Spider-Man is perfect. Surprising post-credit scenes. J. Jonah Jameson returns. It's just
best moment in the whole freaking movie. Oh my god, that was one of the greatest things to witness without, having any spoilers. Like, what a shock. I was so hyped. I could not contain myself. It was amazing.
Yeah, that does. Okay, so far back when
I
Meso and I
screamed
learned
that moment.
when we learned about what the spoilers were, I said that I was upset about 2 things, and you asked to know what they were. That was the one we didn't tell you. So
yeah, we had to leave that one out.
I'm glad you did. That would have been very upsetting to know beforehand. Like,
It was just like, I never thought in a million years they would actually bring him back.
Bring him back.
Like,
Yeah, that's the thing.
not even just the character. The fact that they brought back the actor was like, oh my god, he's back! Oh,
And it was great.
It was hype.
That was
A
awesome.
week before the movie came out, Tom Holland almost gave it away because people were asking him
course he
about
did.
crossovers between the Raimi movies, and he gave this shifty laugh and answer. It was like, you'll just have to, who knows? I'd love to work
That
with,
man's really bad with spoilers.
Yeah.
I'd love to work with Tobey Maguire.
honestly, Marvel, do me a favor. Never let Meso meet Tom Holland. All right, because Meso will just try and pry spoilers out of him, and Tom, he'll be defenseless. There's nothing he's going to be able to do, and Meso will find out anything he wants.
Meso doesn't deserve Tom Holland.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
So
But yeah, it was great seeing J.K. Simmons.
You're not
back.
excused for your sins.
I like the more modernized approach with J. Jonah Jameson as well. The whole like modern day like political commentator.
I really thought
he was like Alex Jones.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the game.
yeah, that's
War
as
game,
soon
is
as I
what it
saw
is.
it, it's like, okay, yeah, no, this is exactly what I figured. It's an Alex Jones parody. It almost see, it's a little difficult to discern the reflection, like the Alex Jones mannerisms, and then J.K. Simmons playing J. Jonah Jameson, because it like in Homecoming or Far From Home, they're very close, and it's a very modern interpretation.
Yeah.
So
So very realistic.
he's no longer it's not a newspaper, it's a website. It's a controversial online website.
So I'm gonna put in my 2 cents here about what I liked about the movie. Pretty much everything that Meso said. I liked the way they balanced out Peter's school situation and the Spider-Manning. That felt very Spider-Man. Actually, the whole movie felt very Spider-Man. There's the whole time Peter's like nothing's going his way this movie. That was a criticism I saw a lot of
That
people
was
had
another
for
thing.
Homecoming.
Yeah, missing from Homecoming was
Yeah.
the balance between his school life and Spider-Man life.
Yeah, it seemed like everything was going too well for Peter in that movie, but in this one,
Yeah.
literally nothing goes the way he wants it to, and it's pretty great. It is honestly like seeing it in this movie made me go, yeah, you know what? I kind of see the criticism now. I could see
Yeah.
why, because
They brought
man,
back-
that was entertaining.
They brought back the classic and I would say necessary Spider-Man angst without it being too melodramatic like the Raimi films or the
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing films.
It was done phenomenally well, but like the Raimi movies are very cheesy. They're product of their time, and Amazing Spider-Man just is not good. It's too like try hard angsty is the best way I could put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this movie,
But-
you just get like a lot of dorky, awkward moments with Peter, or he's trying to talk to MJ, or when he's trying to develop his plan and stuff, and things are
Yeah.
going well for like Ned all the
Well,
entire time.
They do such a good job of showing that Peter does have a life outside of Spider-Man that could be a positive one too. That's the thing. It's like we know that that MJ likes him back, and we see the moments where like he could be with her, but he has to get pulled away because of Spider-Man. And we see how like if he was around his classmates, well, they actually do a great job of making all the classmates really fun too, like really
Oh,
great
yeah.
characters.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like we see how he could be having this awesome like field trip with these awesome people, hanging out with his friends, interacting with MJ and Ned and all that stuff, but we see him pulled away from that life.
Yep.
So it's a perfect way of handling that balance there.
I had a feeling that this is where the movie was going to go. I'm very happy that it went this way. Once I saw that Nick Fury was in the trailers, I was like, oh, snap. Yep, gotta have a feeling that they're going to bring back the old, Fury's dragging Spider-Man into stuff. This is kind of like the Ultimate Comics. More on Nick Fury later. But yeah. loved the Spider-Man story we had here. And I don't. Okay, do we want to talk about Mysterio? Because I really want.
I did have a comment
a
about
legend.
Mysterio, sort of tied to that.
Go on.
Go
for
for
it.
it.
No, I just like Mysterio's progression. I'll just start with just the point that at the beginning of like when you start to realize that he's evil, is that he wants to keep Peter alive. He actually feels bad for him, and he wants him to actually just back out so that he can, not die in
Yeah.
the process of him becoming a hero. But
You
Well,
bring
it
up
goes-
a good point for like debating that Mysterio. Sure, he may be like another one of those Tony Stark ex-employees or whatever, but I feel like this is the best that they've done that archetype, I
I
guess.
mean,
It is.
without a doubt. There's,
It
like,
is.
The competition isn't exactly fierce. And the greatest
Yeah.
tragedy of Iron Man's villains is that they were all kind of bad. He never really got a good villain when he was.
I mean, he's definitely better than the Mandarin.
Iron Man suffers.
Mandarin wasn't even like an Iron Man employee, actually.
The
He just
Iron
did-
Man films
that's why he was
suffered
mad.
tremendously for being the first films. Like it's
Yeah.
hard to really get a good footing as to how you should do your villains, how you should really do a proper superhero movie. It's easy now because we can look back on all these other series of films and see what was done right and what was done wrong. So Spider-Man definitely has that benefit of being able to really handle their villains properly, and they did a great job with Mysterio.
Agreed.
Yeah, I it is interesting that you bring that up though, Mange, because it's like, yeah, in a proper setting, had Mysterio's plan worked exactly how he wanted it to, he would be a hero, presumably working alongside Spider-Man for real, you know? Like there would be
Or just-
no need to kill Spider-Man or even
just Spider-Man would be completely out of the picture. Peter Parker going back to his normal life.
yeah.
Sort of thing. But
It does raise a question, though, like, assuming Mysterio's plan ended up working in its entirety and everybody completely bought that he was a superhero and everything, what happens then when a real Avengers level event happens?
I mean, at that point, I assume he would just say, "Hey, I'm unavailable. Sorry, I can't really do anything."
I guess that's true. It worked for Captain
or
Marvel.
something. Or maybe they've
okay.
delivered their con by then. Like
Yeah.
they're-
Not only is that the issue, but another issue is that he is too willing to sacrifice innocent lives for his.
Yeah,
Well,
his whole
that's what
shtick.
makes him evil, because at the
Yeah, he's
toward
a
the
bad
end-
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the third act, he's oh gosh, well, one of
Was
his
it- I
black
think-
not
Care
black,
anymore?
it's one of his cohorts in all of this is like, won't this result in mass casualties? And he's like, yep, well, sucks.
Yeah, he's like up the damage on.
Yeah,
the
because that's the
throw.
thing, is like he's not actually a hero. He's not trying to be a hero. He's trying to give the illusion of being a hero because he wants the attention.
He wants
the
control,
grandeur.
power, and attention, and being a hero gets that way better than being a massive murderer killer.
Yeah, exactly.
Why
So
not?
if he
both?
actually cared about saving lives, then it would be different. But he doesn't. He only cares about the attention that he gets from it.
Mhm.
The image, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I gotta say is very Mysterio. They did this character so well.
Yes.
I-
They did
Okay.
such
I
a
was
good
so
job
hyped.
of adapting this character. Like, I can't believe it. I couldn't believe it when I saw the film. I'm still like reeling from it, to be honest. Like, this is easily the most accurate portrayal of a Marvel villain brought to the screen. Like, you can look at basically any other Marvel like MCU villain and spot like the differences and the changes and everything. They adapted Mysterio so well. He is almost like exactly the same as his comic book counterpart. Like, the backstory has been updated a bit to fit into the MCU, and it makes a lot more sense now than it would had they just completely done a straight translation of his backstory. But in terms of like his personality, his goals, his motivations, it's all exactly the same. Even down to like him trying to frame Spider-Man for something, while he takes up the whole mantle of being the hero who was taken down by Spider-Man, kind of thing. Like, that's very in line with Mysterio as a character, and it's so awesome to see how well this was adapted.
Yeah.
I guess it helps when you haven't seen the same character done in two different trilogies.
Yeah, no, this is
Yeah,
the first.
definitely.
No,
That's
not
true.
first. This is the second. The second Spidey villain that hasn't had a prior adaptation. So I'm very curious. That makes me wonder what they're going to do for the Marvel characters that have had adaptations.
Yeah, assuming we even touch those.
That is fair. I really enjoyed Mysterio, honestly. Ven told me before I went to see the film that if I remembered Mysterio from the original Spider-Man game on the computer or the GameCube or
yeah.
whatever it was on, if I remember that Mysterio, it's exactly like that in the movie, and it was. Those illusion scenes, especially the one before Peter gets hit by the train,
The
was
first illusion
beautiful.
scene.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Warehouse and everything. That was so awesome.
It was
That was exactly
Oh.
that was exactly what I was hoping they were going to do when they announced Mysterio was going to be.
Same.
So
Man,
And
Yeah,
they
it's funny.
delivered, man. They freaking delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping
So
they would do
good.
too. And then I couldn't help but think in the back of my mind, oh, they're gonna change him like how they do with all the MCU movies. They're gonna have like their little twist on him, so he might not do all the cool stuff, which I was ready to accept. But then they did him perfectly, and they do that scene, and I'm like, it's a cartoon, it's a Spider-Man cartoon on the silver screen.
Yeah.
So many
or a
haunting
video
visual
game or something.
effects.
It's just,
When he turned him into like the original suit, that was like haunting. When the snow globe thing.
the snow globe was so.
The Iron Man corpse coming
The
out of
Iron
the
Man
grave.
zombie.
Yeah.
Oh
Iron
my
Man
gosh.
zombie was so dark. The horde of Spider-Mans tackling him.
Yeah.
That reminded me of one of the second Matrix film. I think there's a part where they do a pile on like that, a dog pile.
It reminds me of
Oh, man.
the Spider-Man 2 game. A lot of that, the illusions in that remind me so much of that game.
Oh yeah, he was in Spider-Man 2 too.
Yeah.
Two.
There's a giant like Mysterio Statue of Liberty that you have to like circle around and defeat. It's pretty funny. But yeah, no, Mysterio was great. He was awesome, and Jake Gyllenhaal did a great job.
Oh
His
my
acting was
gosh.
incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
Now-
I would say that in the first half of the movie, like I said, I didn't feel deeply impressed by it at the start. And like just the whole time, Jake is just being, cliche superhero, kind of got that mellow tone. Like, yeah, I wish we had people like you on my planet. Blah blah blah. Like he tries to act like a bro to Peter, but then even though I was not feeling too impressed with it after the scene where Peter hands over the glasses to him, my mind was just blown by that whole once the illusions start going down in the bar, and then he completely flips his personality and he's all excited all of a sudden, and he's like having the big toast with his team and like revealing that Mysterio is not just him, it's a whole team of people like putting on this con. Like his performance just blew my mind, honestly, like just how dynamic it was from that point on, like how he wasn't actually trying to be a real hero, yada yada. Like I don't know.
There's a lot of layers to his performance for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah, it was. I
Are we talking about the actor's performance or Mysterio's performance? Because
What's the difference?
Definitely both. Definitely
the
both.
actor's performance of them both. Yeah, being
yeah,
able
no,
to
Jake
convey-
Gyllenhaal was awesome.
The actor being the actor.
This
I never seen
I
him in
genuinely
anything.
believed that he was going to be a good guy for a moment.
Yeah,
yeah.
Meso, you and I are about
Yeah.
to say the same thing. So go for it.
Yeah, I've never seen Jake Gyllenhaal in anything, but I was very impressed by what I did see. He stole my
Nightcrawler,
heart.
dude. You gotta watch Nightcrawler.
Heard a lot of
You
good
No, we
things.
should watch Donnie Darko.
I'll watch Night Monkey, but not Nightcrawler.
Night Monkey.
Nice.
Night Monkey.
So this is a bit of a critique of the film because, like we said earlier, nothing's perfect. That scene, Invi, that you mentioned with Mysterio going, "And you, Janet, from the receptionist desk," and he's like pointing to all of his different cohorts, and the movie is kind of okay. The scene was not made to explain what's going on to the characters. It's made to explain what's going on and break everything down for us watching it.
Yeah.
And it felt like it. It was very transparent as to what the purpose of the scene is. I think that the only thing that makes that scene salvageable, the only thing that makes it work, is entirely Jake Gyllenhaal. Entirely.
Agreed.
That guy absolutely nailed it. He sold the performance. He made me go, wow, okay, all right, point out another one, and another one. And oh, what about that person? Tell me about that person. And it worked out very well for him. However, from a film perspective, it definitely felt... It was the most shoehorned scene in the entire movie.
Yeah, I felt like it definitely changed up the pace of the movie. Like it definitely kind of changed the tone for a bit. And as I was telling you guys last night when we were talking about it, I don't feel like that scene is not going to age well.
No.
However, I did enjoy it
Sorry,
at the time.
which scene?
The
Mysterio
scene where
wearing out
he's
his-
revealing
He's revealing the
the
team.
plan.
Oh, and they're having the whole little party thing?
Yeah.
It was such an expositional scene. It was absolutely one of those like scenes where you just have a character say all the exposition and exposit it out in this big diatribe to all the characters that already know all the details he's saying. So there's no reason why he would actually do it. It felt very unnatural. It would have been nice to have gotten that information through a more natural means. Because I thought the exact same once that happened in the film. It kind of took me out a little bit, but Jake Gyllenhaal's performance during that did make it watchable. So
Yeah.
I felt like it was a little bit forced, but at the same time, I've kind of seen people act like that when doing a whole
Yeah,
little
that's a kind of toast thing to do.
Like, yeah, exactly. It's like, yes, we do know who these people are. We do know what they do, but the point of that scene is to give those characters credit for the little things that they were doing behind the scenes, and to give them acknowledgement, I guess.
I can see people doing that, and I don't know if I've ever done this. Like when we did Biocraft, it's like, and you, Var, who edited the movie, or at least all these different scenes, and Ven, who did the music.
We basically do that. We do that all the time.
I think
we just do
but
it in a
to
different
explain
way.
it, but in explaining
though.
it to other people, which
We
is what
can't just
the
have
scene was
credit
for.
where credit is due, though. We have to have like grayscale cutaway zoom in.
yeah, I think we could have
Flashback.
done without the flashbacks and stuff.
It's weird because both movies now have done this kind of like weird thing. You know, Homecoming, when he was lifting up the rubble, they did like a flashback, and now with this, they did kind of a flashback. I'm not used to it in
The,
Marvel movies.
Well, with the flashback from Homecoming, Homecoming, I could understand it to an extent. This one I'm a little more mixed on, because it's the first Marvel film to go out of its way to remind you that this character existed. For instance, if they didn't have that... great, there's a spider on the blinds. That's fitting. Anyway, if they didn't have that cutaway of the guy from the Obadiah Stane scene, it's like, Tony Stark built this in a cave! Like,
I
if-
freaking laughed, though.
I
thought
did,
it was
too.
worth it just
I
because
did
it gave
laugh.
me a
I
laugh.
thought it was funny. However, no other Marvel
told
movie
me
would have
Tony
done that.
Stark was able to
You
build
just
it.
would have seen that character, and then people would have retroactively gone, oh yeah, that was the guy Obadiah Stane was yelling at, and you'd see it as like a wiki trivia deal, or you'd see it on the
And
subreddit.
there's a precedent for that too, because there's actually a character in this film where that has happened. It's the school teacher for his class.
Yes, that's a
he was
great
in the
point.
Incredible Hulk.
Yes, and it was
people-
confirmed
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the same guy. Yes,
Yep.
but
And retroactively, they have confirmed that is indeed the same character too. It's not
Yeah.
even just the same actor.
Which
So
great.
I
that's a
think
good.
it was not only like a thing for the movie, but it was a scene to kind of set the stage for the rest of the MCU, as far as like what a post Tony Stark world would be like, I guess, where you wonder what happened to the people that didn't like him, and so on and so forth.
Well,
I don't know.
Them
that was
being
kind
around
of
isn't, isn't the problem. It's the fact that they
Yeah.
were so insistent on pointing it out, and no other MCU film has done that before.
Yeah, like the actual backstory is fine, and all the characters doing like their reasoning.
It was
for
just the
being there
way
is
they
fine.
did it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it
execution
was-
is kind of mixed.
It was just the execution. It was just the fact that he just
Oh,
sat
okay.
there and exposited it out into this big, like, scene that everybody in that room already knows these details. So it just feels so unnatural for him to say it like that.
I was
It's
fine
the
with it.
classic, as you may know, scene. You know, like when you look at all the films that have a really bad exposition scenes, it always starts with a character talking to a group of people going, and as we already know, and then revealing the info that everybody that he just acknowledged that everyone in the room already knows. So if they already know, there's no reason for him to actually say what he's about to say. He's only saying it because the film needs him to say it for the audience who's watching the film to get the info.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I feel like Homecoming did a reverse, did a whole 180 on that by like avoiding talking about Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Undo
And
that
then-
goodwill here.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like Homecoming. They knew how to avoid that by not acknowledging Uncle Ben. And then in this movie, they're like, let's have Mysterio explain everything. Yeah.
Stupid
No,
spider.
I don't know. I think the reason why I'm okay with it is because I'm used to Mysterio being like overly extravagant and theatrical and
Exactly.
like melodramatic. So
Well, I mean, I say exactly. I'm not used to him doing anything, but I like how they leveraged his desire to be recognized and to just party and be so like out there and very like bombastic in his presentation
Yeah.
to contrast with how subdued he'd been so far.
Yeah, exactly.
And more than that, the fact that it wasn't just like a villain monologuing to his subjects, but that like everyone was just as excited as he was.
Everyone was hyped.
So, like, they all are
He
that.
was the hype
they all,
man.
They all want those self-congratulatory pats on the back, and they can't get it in the public just yet because they're still in the plan, so they give it to themselves.
And I think that's really the only reason why it works is because it does kind of fit in with this character.
Yeah. It's definitely the sloppiest scene in the movie, but it still kind of works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
even
it's
then, still
passable.
gonna
I can get over it. I just wish
Yeah,
that
that's
they
fair.
had executed it a bit more naturally.
Yeah. It'll just be harder to watch when we come back to it again. It's like, oh, great, this scene
You
again.
should make fun of it.
Oh, that'll be fun.
And now it's Jimmy, the janitor.
Who like sweeps up my crap from the floor, picks up papers, and
Yeah.
and
secretly installed cameras
Yeah.
to spy on Spider-Man.
Like in terms of criticisms for the film, though, I mean, like that scene is really the only legitimate like criticism I would have for it. It's the only thing that stuck out to me as being a flaw of the film. There is minor stuff that doesn't really like matter much. Like the CGI is kind of bad in places.
I would say the story is a little bit predictable too, in a way. Like
You think so?
there's a couple. I felt like I knew what was coming every scene.
I did not feel like that at all. I had no idea what was happening.
Almost everything that was coming. Like,
only
in terms
thing-
of basic story beats, like, okay, this is where Peter's gonna start being Spider-Man for real. This is where Mysterio's gonna win. This is where something happens, and then of course this is where Spider-Man's gonna beat Mysterio, and
Alright.
and
I don't know,
like,
man.
all that kind of stuff was kind of run of the mill, but at the same time, it's like I enjoyed the movie so much, it didn't really.
The parts that I felt were run of the mill were intentionally run of the mill. The thought that like all of Mysterio's backstory, quote unquote, was very cliche and very silly, and I'm
Right.
glad that it ended up being a fan fiction in universe because.
Oh yeah, with the whole they killed my family. Oh yeah, can I just say thank the Lord they didn't bother doing the multiverse thing. I
Oh my
really did not-
gosh. Thank goodness. Okay,
Well, see, the
that's-
multiverse thing is part of why I didn't know. Like, that's it right there. Is like, I knew Mysterio would likely end up being a bad guy, and I don't think the film really went out of its way to make us think otherwise. I think it very much kind of had like a nod and a wink to the
Right.
people
Well,
who
that's
know
what I
Mysterio
mean.
as a character.
Like, we knew Mysterio was gonna be the bad guy, and that's what I'm talking about when I mean like the basic story beats kind of went the way I thought they would.
But I don't know. I don't see. I don't.
The
I wouldn't say that
details
that's-
are different, but
I wouldn't say that would make the film predictable though, because I like obviously Mysterio is the bad guy, but like the story surrounding Mysterio though, like I don't think anyone went in that film guessing that Mysterio was going to be an ex-Stark employee using drones to create illusions, and yet he had a whole team of people working behind him.
That's one of the things that I was worried about.
Like no one knew really what the elementals were going into it. Everybody hoped it would be illusions, but we had no idea if this actually was multiverse or not.
right.
Yeah,
So I
Meso,
don't know.
you
I felt like the film was very unpredictable. Sorry, go ahead, Eljay.
no, you're good. Meso, you were chewing at me about the whole multiverse thing because I went into the movie going, oh, I really hope they don't go that route, and I think it was you that said, well, who would actually believe they were gonna have a multiverse plot line? It's like every character in the movie. Because, like, Jake Gyllenhaal in the aforementioned scene we were bagging on even says, who would have thought that a crazy story like that is something everyone here would just believe? Because it's
Well-
believable within the world.
My logic was that Shield is involved, or I guess whatever they do, they never actually called themselves.
It's not even
Shield.
Shield. It's
Whatever,
like
whatever Fury's pet project
Fury's
is.
team.
Oh. okay, while we're looking for stuff to complain about, that still freaking bothers me. What the hell is Nick Fury doing now?
He has
What
autonomy.
is this?
Coulson.
That's
like,
Sword. We'll get
Coulson
to
and
it.
the gang as Shield. He has.
I guess
Sword.
we'll get there, but in the meantime, it's like Nick Fury, for the longest time, has not been with Shield, and yet somehow in Age of Ultron, he's able to whip out these out of nowhere, what are they called, helicarriers,
Coulson.
and then now, and then he continues his presence, just kind of in the back burner, like, hey, I guess Shield's still around, sort of.
Yeah,
I'm still running.
There's different factions that crop
He's hanging
up.
around with Maria Hill and like
I
this
think it makes less sense if
big
you
black-
try to fit in Agents of Shield.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, I think if you ignore the existence of Agents of Shield, it makes a lot more sense.
No, I am ignoring Agents of Shield.
it's
the
equal
the
parts
problem
yes and
to
no
me-
because in season there's precedent even in the show for multiple factions of Shield existing at one point. My only question with that is resources. I
yeah,
could
that
totally
my
believe that
question
Fury
is the
does that,
resources and if
Nah, man.
it's Shield or not. I'm going off of Winter Soldier. I'm going strictly off of Winter Soldier because I know Agents of Shield at this point has gone off the rails in terms of like remaining
Direct
consistent with the MCU.
Still no direct. Well, I say no direct contradictions. There's one or two.
So
We
with
have
Yeah, I
some
mean, there's
pretty
no
direct
actual
ones.
contradictions. I just think the existence of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. makes you kind of start to question a lot of these things more than you would otherwise. Like, I mean, I don't really...
Well, I started
People
watching
divided.
Agents of Shield, or was it? I didn't really care for Agents of Shield or what the premise was about Agents of Shield until way after I saw Age of Ultron, and even back then, I was still asking this question: like, what the heck is up with Nick Fury? What is he doing? Is Shield around? Or is it not?
Yeah.
If anything, I asked those questions so much, I thought, okay, maybe I should watch Agents of Shield because maybe it'll explain it. And then I
No.
watch Agents of Shield, and it never does.
I think
I don't
now
know.
that we know about the scroll connection, it makes a lot more sense to me.
I
Because-
guess, but it's still
I don't
very
have these questions.
ambiguous.
I feel like it... I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. going under doesn't necessarily mean that literally every single resource that S.H.I.E.L.D. had under its belt suddenly disappears. I think
Nah,
it's
actually,
totally plausible that...
Nick Fury only has a giant SUV to drive around now.
Yeah, no, I think it's totally plausible that S.H.I.E.L.D. is still in operation despite its official closure. So these questions never came to me.
Because even in the show, Shield it's unclear whether it's an actual functioning government organization or if it's a like rogue kind of like underground black ops. This doesn't exist group.
Yeah.
And both can coexist at the same time because in the movie, Fury's like meeting with
I
someone.
mean, I
that's
can
the
buy that
thing.
if that's the case. I just wish they would freaking.
They use like
acknowledge it.
vague terms in Far From Home about who Fury's meeting with, about what and why, and I'm like, I wish they would have clarified that because that would have established some rules, in that place where that was, trying to get like Mysterio to become an Avenger or whatever. I forget who he said he was meeting with, but he never mentioned Shield in direct capacity. And no, not so much by resources at Hazash, although yes.
Not even
Senjutsu is
just the
very
resources.
expensive.
Like, what role does Shield play in terms of like the actual world? Are they like a government thing? Are
No.
they with the UN? Like, do they just do whatever they want? Are they like the Avengers
When I say
before
resources,
the Accords?
what I-
Do they
what I
follow
meant-
the Accords?
when I say resources, what I meant was how they get all their cars and guns and bases and planes and Quinjets.
Yeah.
Who
yeah,
bankrolls it? And that I'm talking to Hazash, and that applies for both Fury's group and Coulson's group. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So, mm.
My thing is like I just when it comes to S.H.I.E.L.D., just because it dissolves officially and is no longer functioning as a government or agency does not mean that suddenly every single amount of resources they had at their disposal just disappears. They
This is
still
true.
have helicarriers. They still have their bank account. Like they can still pay people what they might not be generating more revenue now. They no government funding for an organization that doesn't exist, but they had revenue previously that they can still work with currently, which is why we are seeing a smaller S.H.I.E.L.D., but there is still a S.H.I.E.L.D. because my presumption is that Nick Fury is trying to build it back up in the background. Hence
Yeah.
why he's now gone galactic.
Brent just makes a good point. Coulson's group straight up stole stuff. Like when they had no money, they just would like steal Quinjets from the military base.
Yeah. So I mean, like that makes sense. Like I don't know. I don't really have a question about it. I think it works. But
Let's segue into this and talk about Nick Fury being a Skrull for the whole movie. It's one of those head scratchers.
that was fun.
It sounds really dumb, but again, when you're actually watching the scene, I just can't help but laugh at it in a good way.
I laughed and I was like, "That's totally Nick Fury." That's a very Nick Fury thing to do.
Okay.
it's definitely a divisive scene. Because for some people it really takes them out of the film, and other people don't really seem to mind it much. I'm definitely on the camp that doesn't mind it, but
It all depends on how much you dislike Captain Marvel. And
I don't actually
Maybe
think
for
it relies
you.
on Captain Marvel at all.
Yeah, I don't
it
think
does
so
either.
either.
No,
I think
and
a lot of
honestly, this is
people
the scene that
are,
burned me the most, knowing about it going into things. And Var, this is why I was okay. So for context, Meso and I had the film spoiled for the most part, and by that I mean Meso found the spoilers, asked me, "Hey, you want to know some spoilers? I got some spoilers you can buy."
Hey kid, you want some candy?
the big three spoilers: Mysterio being a former Stark employee,
And dying.
his identity getting revealed, and the Skrulls.
And J. Jonah
That
Jameson.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
So going into it, I knew about the scene, and Var was saying, you really need context for these after credit scenes, because I actually, after knowing the spoilers, wasn't going to see the movie in theaters. I checked out at Endgame, but Var and Ven were insistent. Var was saying it was a really good movie. We'll get to that in a second, and Ven was saying this rivals Spider-Verse. You should absolutely see it. So eventually I did. Meso, gosh freaking dang it. The context made that second post-credit scene not only good, but excellent. Because it really it illustrated what the heck is going. It makes perfect sense. It makes stuff in the film make perfect sense. Nick Fury felt off the entire time. Even for me who knew about it, I could tell the dialogue, the decision making.
Nick Fury was acting too Samuel L. Jackson in this.
Yeah,
he was too
off.
much of a jerk.
Yeah, it's like, and I swear to you, this is such a great. I almost say it's a commentary, but when Spider-Man is going, well, what about the other Avengers? What about Thor? Unavailable, or sorry, off-world. Captain Marvel, don't invoke her name. Like Nick Fury would never say that. He would also know where everyone else is.
I mean, Talos also wouldn't say that.
Why not?
Because he's like
Why
best
wouldn't Taylor
friends.
say that?
Best friends with Captain Marvel. She saved his race.
Yeah, I know. So he
Yeah,
would've-
but I that felt like you're not worthy of speaking her
Yeah,
name.
that was like, don't use the
absolutely.
Lord's name in vain.
Yeah, that's exactly how it comes off. And that is a Talos thing to do because he's grateful. He's immensely grateful. So it makes perfect
he's weird.
sense. And at the end of the movie, when you find out it's Talos, Talos is like, hey, yeah, we need you back. I don't know where any of the other Avengers are. I just found this kid who happened to be here.
That actor is great. He's like, yeah, well, we gave him the glasses like you asked. It was very touching. And then after that, it kind of went off the rails. We need you to come back because the monkey basket where the other Avengers are. I don't know what to tell him.
See, it also makes sense because for the real Nick Fury, all he did was assign Talos a mission to deliver Tony Stark's glasses to Spider-Man. That's all that he was supposed to do. He did not expect everything else to happen. Meanwhile,
Like Mysterio.
Talos takes matters into his own hand with the whole Mysterio thing, realizes he's screwed up immensely, and is basically just trying to play damage control the whole movie before reporting back to Nick Fury.
And it makes
so funny.
perfect sense because if Nick Fury was there, the glasses would be delivered no issue, and he would have called someone else to deal with Mysterio. Like, imagine Thor in the exact same situation with the illusions. All he does is call one giant lightning strike, and all of the drones are done.
Yeah.
And so it makes
If real Nick Fury was there, he would have shot Mysterio. It wouldn't be just an illusion; it would actually be him.
It's like, I mean, it was actually, I think between the two post-credit scenes, it was the better one, personally.
Wow.
Nah.
Yeah,
I disagree
I
with
like
that,
the
but
first
that's pretty good.
Dude, that first post-credit scene was so freaking good. Holy
it
crap.
was good up until his identity got revealed. That is just a personal preference.
Did want to briefly
No,
point
the
out
identity reveal was the best
We'll
part.
talk about that. We'll talk
That was the
about
gut
we
punch.
got a super chat from Adrian G real quick. Thank you for your donation, sir.
Oh,
Says,
thank you.
Guys, these earthquakes have me shaken up, and oof, get out of there, dude. Stay
Be-
safe.
Be
right
careful.
there with you.
Pepperoni.
It's really bad.
California
I want to
is,
elaborate on something I
yeah.
said about why it matters about Captain Marvel, because the three biggest things people disliked about this scene on principle was, number one, it's tied to Captain Marvel, which is a movie that a lot of people hate. They don't want the plot threads from Captain Marvel seeping into their Spider-Man movie. Number two,
Those people are dumb, and that's a dumb thing to talk
Number
about.
two,
MCU.
Number two, the Skrulls were kind of portrayed as jokes in Captain Marvel compared to how they've been portrayed in other media, and I say that quite literally. Jokes. They're like bumbling goofballs instead of
This
competent
group-
tactical military leaders. And in this movie, it very much is the same way. The leader of his race, Talos, like the general who saved everybody, is like he can't handle anything really. He's a screw up. And then three, the Skrulls are again. Captain Marvel changed them to be villains to allies. And when people see Skrulls in post-credit scenes, they think secret invasion, and then you realize we're never gonna get secret invasion.
We don't know if we're never going to get Secret Invasion. I think this actually makes a strong argument that it can be set up very well, because
And
if
keep in mind,
Go
I
ahead.
don't agree with either three of those points. But when I say people disliked the scene on principle because of Captain Marvel, it is 100% the case, because Captain Marvel made the Skrulls allies and they made them jokes. And that is consistent here.
I guess I don't personally think of it that way. I think that the post-credit scene actually retroactively made Homecoming better. Sorry, not Homecoming. Far From Home, a better movie just by existing, because
I think,
not
I would
only
say
was
that's
it funny, it made so much sense. Like, all these things that would otherwise be critiques are now gone in an instant. It's like a domino that just blasted the others down.
This is true. I agree.
It's actually kind of funny because it's very similar to Homecoming. Because I had this critique actually back when we did our Homecoming review about a very similar problem with Homecoming, and how like it was weird that all the characters kept shutting Peter down instead of actually addressing the problem themselves and causing Spider-Man to go out and handle it himself, right? I remember having that issue. It's a very similar thing here, except it's explainable because the guy causing it is a freaking idiot
Yeah.
and doesn't have the resources like everybody like he should if he was the real Nick Fury.
It's very embarrassing. Get fooled by illusions. I'm a shapeshift.
Yeah. No,
I would say. Go ahead.
no, please. I'm not going to say anything new.
No, I would say just my main detraction, and it's not that big of an issue, but it's just like a small issue with the movie in general, is that it's very much a sequel to the MCU and not a Spider-Man sequel. Like, in order for this movie to work for you, it's not just watching Homecoming before. You have to, I'm saying in the total order of knowing Spider-Man as a whole, that's like Civil War, Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame, now Captain Marvel, and then Far From Home, in order for all of it to make sense.
Yeah. I do agree. It is very much an MCU film, more so than a lot of the other solo films are.
Yeah, I can't think of myself showing this to someone in a vacuum.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to show this to anybody in a vacuum either. I'd probably want to get them out of the vacuum first.
Yeah,
But
I saw
with
that one coming.
In that same vein, though, while for certain people that could certainly be an issue about the film, it also is kind of a plus because unlike other solo films, it actually gives the Spider-Man films more like not stakes, but I guess like just I don't know,
No,
More
it would
relevant.
definitely
graphic
it-
loss
it-
and
it's
relevance.
a
Yeah.
trade-off. It's a trade-off, yeah, because I feel like all these movies gave the Spider-Man movie a lot to work with. But it's
it
just
almost,
like I don't know.
it almost feels like the Spider-Man films are event films now, which is cool, right? Like it almost feels like they're like Avengers light kind of films in a way,
Mhm.
where like
Where
they're
it kind of
really
acknowledges the whole universe instead of like making you ask where the frick are the Avengers the whole time.
it's
Yeah,
really
that's true.
intrinsic
A
to the MCU and builds upon it more so than any of
A
the
lot
other
of the
films.
solo movies don't cross over very much, so it's not. I guess that's a
Yeah.
nice thing.
I,
Like I said, it's a trade-off.
It's a valid point, but as we've discussed before in the Marvel fatigue discussions, I'm in the camp that watches every movie, so I do not mind references being made.
I'm in the
to
camp
those
that's
movies.
kind of tired of seeing Spider-Man be alone. I've seen Spider-Man do his own thing for however many movies and however many cartoons and whatever. At this point, I want him to be more involved with the Avengers and stuff. So I am all in. I'm glad that we're getting all this.
All right. Well, yeah, it's gonna be great.
Very briefly, I was doing a cursory look over one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe subreddit topics, threads for Far From Home, and somebody points out the Edith. It's an acronym standing "Even Dead, I'm the Hero," and somebody else points out happens to both owners of Edith, Tony and Quentin.
Oh dang!
That's a really
Oh,
that's
Oh,
a
snap.
super.
even dead, I'm the hero. It
Yeah.
plays into the illusion at the end of the film.
Yep. That
Perfect.
is clever.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Mysterio, best villain.
He's pretty freaking great.
Mysterio 11 out of 10.
Every time I try to think of a critique about Mysterio, it just goes away. Like I've tried, I can't think of one.
Genius.
The one I had yesterday was, wow, it really made no sense for this smart villain to send 100 drones like flying over after Spider-Man, trying to shoot him while he was flipping all around, when he could have just used like 5 drones to make his vision go all black and then shoot him with the other 95. That was my critique I was banking on until I remembered, oh wait, the illusion was rebooting. He couldn't use illusion drones. Impossible. There's no critique. He's a freaking great villain. I can't do it. I love Mysterio. It's so cool.
I'm really hoping that we see a video from Mahler that goes, "Spider-Man Far From Home in unbridled praise." I'm really hoping. I don't want this to be
like he loved it.
Oh, thank goodness! I was really hoping this wasn't one of those situations like a
He rips into like Captain
I mean,
Marvel.
it's obvious because
Well,
it's
not
not
Captain
dumb
Marvel.
like Captain Marvel.
I'm not talking about Captain Marvel, but like Black Panther, like it was a movie that I watched and I enjoyed, and then Mahler went like, "So here are all the issues."
Yeah, well, that movie sucked too.
Yeah, looking back, I don't like Black Panther as much.
It's fun to watch, but
It wore off after the theater, like hard.
yeah.
So
There too, like it's the part where he dies supposedly. It just slows everything to a crawl.
yeah.
Yeah.
There. Speaking of deaths and slowing things to a crawl, there is something that I'm a little. I don't want to say disappointed because I feel it might be a little preemptive, but Mysterio dying.
He's
I'm
not
just-
dead.
I hope not, because the way that they address it leaves it open. Like, Edith says, there are no active illusions. But she doesn't say, yeah, he's dead. Like, she would know how to scan for...
Yeah, there's no confirmation that he's dead.
I really hope
Also,
he
like,
isn't, because I'd love to see him again in a Sinister Six kind of scenario.
I mentioned this
Oh, I
before
feel like that's
outside
where
of a
they're going.
podcast setting, but like even if Edith had confirmed he
Even
was
dead, I'm
legit
the hero.
dead, like keep in mind Edith is still under Quentin Beck's control. Like Peter handed full control over to him.
That's
So
a good-
even if Peter asked Edith is going to say whatever Quentin Beck told Edith to say.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Which reminds me, I'm really happy that they set this up. Like, they have Edith's software. Like, Edith is still within their possession, even if Parker has the glasses.
Yeah, exactly.
I would really, really hope that in this era of Marvel, the first movie after Endgame, they wouldn't immediately revert to their one and done villain dies at the end movie format.
I have a strong feeling that this is going to build up to Sinister Six because Sony's had that agenda for like ever.
Honestly,
Still in jail.
Like if it was any other hero besides Spider-Man, Vulture would have died in Homecoming.
Maybe. Var, you had this theory that you'd mentioned on a prior podcast that the route they're going with this Spidey, the MCU Spidey, is that they're going the Ultimate Comics route, where he does all these things, he's outed to the world as being Spider-Man, and then he dies young. And then the mantle goes to someone else. I can see them...
It goes to Miles.
I can see them killing Spider-Man with the Sinister Six.
Yeah, possibly. Though that theory was developed with the info that they might introduce Norman Osborn and Oscorp in this film, and that they were going to be buying Stark Tower, and that didn't end up happening.
That's a good point.
So that I was under the assumption that Green Goblin would be brought in for the third film. Now they could still do that, and if that's the case, they might still go that route. But my whole he's probably going to die in the third film was banking on the fact that Green Goblin is going to be the villain. So
yeah.
And they still could kill him off at Sinister Six. I'm not sure. We do technically have 5 members out of 6 here, like in the films. So they certainly could do Sinister Six.
Isn't the second Shocker dead?
In the next one.
Shock?
The second Shocker is dead, but I mean they could just make a third Shocker.
Wait. The second Shocker is dead? What do you mean?
You're the Shocker now.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't really matter. Shocker is just some movie.
Yeah, it's just the glove.
How
Another
the...
dead or in prison.
Going around saying I'm the Shocker. I'm the Shocker. I shock people.
I'm gonna look this up because I don't remember the second Shocker
Oh my
dying.
gosh, I freaking love Michael.
I don't
Keaton.
either. Actually, now that I think about it, is he dead?
I'm pretty sure he hasn't.
Nah, he didn't die.
Because the first one got turned into a pile of powder.
Yeah, the first one died. The second one just got beaten.
Okay,
Yeah, he got
I'm
webbed
looking
up.
it up here. Second one is in custody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So we're looking at a great prison breakout scene because we've got Vulture, we've got Shocker, we've got
Scorpion's in prison.
Scorpion, all in prison.
Yeah, even if Mysterio didn't die from that, it's not like Peter would have killed him. So he could just as likely be alive.
Yeah,
And
I was saying this in terms of a meta perspective. The way they handled Mysterio is perfectly ambiguous because if they decide not to bring him back, then we did see him die, so it makes sense. If they do bring him back, it also makes sense that it was all just another illusion. So they're in a perfect position to use Mysterio again if they ever want to.
Heck, if they don't bring him specifically, like Quentin Beck, back, Mysterio can still reappear because all of his pals are still in operation.
Right.
They can just craft Mysterio to do evil things under the illusion that he's just a dude when he's really just a bunch of people.
They can craft illusions of Mysterio fighting Spider-Man and stopping Spider-Man from doing crimes.
In fact, I don't even think Spider-Man is aware that there's more than one Mysterio.
Yep.
He just knows about the drugs.
Quentin Beck could return as just an illusion.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
I dig it.
Does he? I don't
Dead,
think he
I'm
does.
the hero.
I think he only knows about Quentin Beck.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only knows about Beck.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
We have our Sinister Six people. All right.
So
That was easy.
Jenny from accounting, the new
who's the last one we need?
Well, we need one more. So they also have Chameleon in the film. Now he hasn't become Chameleon yet. He's just there.
He's Dimitri.
He's just Dimitri, but he was the bus driver. I every time I saw him, I immediately thought it was Rasputin. He looks just like Rasputin. So there's that guy. Technically, Prowler is also in the film.
Wait.
Right.
Oh yeah, Prowler's in
Not this film, but he's in the universe. He was in Homecoming.
This is true.
Oh yeah, that's right. Donald Glover.
Yeah.
The cool thing is if they do Sinister Six, it could literally be like almost anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And we need
already like set up so many villains.
We would need at least one of the heavy hitters.
Yeah, that's the
between
thing.
Norman Osborn or Doc Ock or someone.
Paul
Doc
Giamatti
Ock.
as Rhino.
Doc Ock or Norman Osborn. If they bring in either Doc Ock or Norman Osborn, I would feel very confident that we would be getting Sinister Six.
Mhm.
I don't know. It'd be between those two. I don't know who the next villain is. I was honestly thinking they might just make it Scorpion for the next villain, since they already kind of set him up a little bit, and I could easily see it working since they introduced JJJ again. It's tied intrinsically to Scorpion's backstory of being the spider hunter, kind of funded by JJJ. JJJ gets stuck in the suit, ends up hunting down JJJ instead. It works. It fits in with the Peter identity being revealed thing as well. So
Plot twist: they use J. Jonah Jameson as bait.
what if it's Kingpin and he sets up the Sinister
Don't
Six?
don't do this.
Don't
do
do
this.
that. Don't give me hope.
That's right.
Don't give me hope.
People
I like-
are already like spreading the rumors that Daredevil is going to be Peter's lawyer. And it's like,
Stupid.
they
Get
can
out of
do it.
here.
No, I don't think it's. I think it makes perfect sense. It's just a little.
I think that's dumb,
A little
and
hopeful.
it's dumb.
Yeah, they should
Daredevil's dead.
They should
Netflix
bring
is
back
never gonna bring
Ben
him back.
Affleck.
Aren't
Get
Daredevil
over
and
it.
Peter Parker like very linked in the comics? That they like routinely.
I mean, yeah, you
They
know,
both
they
go to
shared
New
some
York.
stuff together. They were both in that very first Spider-Man game I ever played.
Yeah, they were.
T33 asked who we would cast as Norman Osborn. He said he saw a post on Reddit suggesting Bryan.
I like Willem
Cranston.
Dafoe. I think
Yeah, Willem
Dafoe would
Dafoe.
do pretty-
Bryan Cranston's
I'm a bit of a
not
Norman
a bad
Osborn
choice.
myself.
Honestly,
Bryan Cranston as Norman Osborn? Get out. No, that'd be so good.
honestly, you could cast Bryan Cranston for either Norman Osborn or Doc Ock. I don't know.
could do either
I don't know
He
if
could- he
I'd
could do
cast him
either
for
one.
Doc Ock.
No, he could easily pull off Doc Ock.
think he could pull off Doc Ock?
I mean, he could, but I don't know. If,
Bryan Cranston.
I don't know if I would cast him as Doc Ock.
Personally, I always thought like the guy that played Lucius Malfoy would be a great Norman Osborn.
Ooh.
How about
I can
the
see
guy
it.
that plays Tywin Lannister?
I mean,
Give him an American accent, boom, he's Norman Osborn.
Jason Isaacs. That's the guy I always thought would be a perfect Norman Osborn. He looks perfect for the role IMO. So, yeah. Well, good movie.
One more thing
Oh, yeah.
that I think is
I can
excellent,
see that.
or was really funny, was when Peter was making his new suit, and Happy kicks on the classic Iron Man theme, and Peter is.
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, I love Led
I
Zeppelin.
love Led Zeppelin.
That was a great scene. That was really sweet. Like
Yep.
seeing
It's
Happy.
balanced.
Like,
I agreed.
Both.
yeah.
Oh gosh, when they're in the vault and they're all sharing things.
I'm in love with Spider-Man's at.
He was very good in this movie. Happy was like
He was happy.
Happy was us.
It was the best movie he's been in.
John Favreau.
Out of all of John Favreau's movies, this was the best one he's been in.
You haven't seen
Happy
Chef.
was us trying to get closure from Endgame.
I just like that John Favreau is able to insert himself into whatever he wants and like get away with it. He's freaking flirting with Aunt May. They're having a fling. John
No, they're
Favreau's just
dating.
living the life.
No, they just have a fling. No.
You're lucky
I just
Hogan,
love
man.
that.
Aunt May is so hot. Oh.
Dude, that's such a dupe because Peter's like, I need the truth to be out there. Like, you'd
Yeah.
almost think that's about his identity, and then he actually gets his identity blown later. Oh, that's so good.
They tease the identity thing so much in this film. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I need to
really
see
did.
how they handle it in the next movie because right now I'm not really. I'm
Honestly-
50-50.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Even if they don't pull it off well, that doesn't take away from me the idea that was such a good
It's a great
ending.
setup.
It was a good setup, and it was a great ending to Mysterio as a villain for this one movie. I don't care. The next movie could be crap, total crap, just
Well,
because
it
they
all,
try to do that premise and it fails. I don't care.
your
This
opinion-
movie's great.
Your opinions on it all hinge on whether you feel that they've revealed it too soon or not. If you don't think so,
I
you're gonna
don't-
love it. If you do, you're gonna hate it.
I don't think so, because this is a new thing for Spider-Man in the movies, where his identity is getting revealed. I don't care that Peter is, oh, he's too young. No, I don't care. We've seen however many Spider-Man movies. It's got to happen at some point. Plus,
as long
we
as it
live in
leads
a
to consequences, that's all I care about.
yeah, exactly. And plus, we've seen so much stuff in the MCU where we've seen higher stakes. Come on. At this point, in a world like the MCU, it's honestly kind of surprising to me that Peter has done this well of a job keeping his identity secret.
Yeah. Stories like this don't really work well in the grounded, realistic tone that the movies have. Even so far, where it has worked, it's pushing the boundaries of working to the point where you need lampshade comedy like Brad, to like point it out to the audience. Like, haha, yeah, nobody pays attention.
Brad.
Get it? It's funny. But
Yeah, like,
if I
come
had to see
on.
if I had to see another 2 to 3 movies like this, I would probably be irritated. So I welcome.
We have a world where Stark technology is like the norm, where cameras are everywhere, or Peter can just have some glasses. I mean, granted, it's not like anyone could get these glasses, but the fact is they exist. He can get these glasses to peek at other people's text messages and just delete them at his own will. It doesn't surprise me that there would be technology or any sort of way to just to get his secret identity up and out there. I thought it made a lot of sense the way they set it up, and it was very in character with Mysterio to screw over Peter like that.
Yeah,
and it makes for a very interesting premise for the next movie.
Yeah,
I was
think
not
it's a
interested
great.
in seeing another Spider-Man movie until that.
It was a great bookend. It's a great way to set up a sequel. It's really exciting because there are so many different possibilities and routes you can.
There's so many like
from this.
consequences from this.
Yeah,
sort
so
of thing.
Yep.
as long as there are consequences and the sequel isn't literally just, oh well, everybody knows he's Spider-Man and they're okay with it, like Tony Stark did, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so long as they don't Iron Man it.
Yeah, as long as they don't Iron Man it, as long as there's actual ramifications for his identity being revealed, it'll be fine.
But I mean,
Yeah,
like,
which
and
they
the
can't
footage,
Iron
like,
Man,
just
they already like set him up to be like
murderer.
this terrorist.
yeah, and the fake
exactly.
footage, like, his friends are gonna be questioning what the heck happened, Peter. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff that could happen.
He's
from
gonna be
this.
ostracized like everywhere.
I wonder.
Oh my god.
I wonder
So
if
exciting.
upon seeing that, Brad was like, "Yeah, I knew it. I was right."
Why are you taking pictures of it?
Nah, if I was Brad, I'd be like, dang it, I definitely can't compete with him now.
Brad.
Stupid Brad.
God, I want to see Flash Thompson's reaction.
Oh, Flash. Okay, man. Gosh.
Oh man.
So mother.
Okay,
could
we
not
gotta
make
talk
it,
about
could
the
he?
little things in
Could
this
she?
movie. Yeah.
Oh, he
Flash
was so.
Thompson's great.
I
I
felt-
love this iteration of Flash Thompson.
He was so.
It's
he was so
it's
excited.
such a good,
He was very
realistic.
excited.
He's such a
modern
genuine
song.
character. I like him. He
Flash.
feels like-
Aw, he was
He
so excited
inspires
when,
me to be better.
when
Sup,
s-
D-head?
when Spidey follows him on wherever he streams. He's like, Spider-Man
Oh, yeah.
follows me. So happy.
And then, like, everybody, like, when they're all coming home from London, and he's literally the only person whose parents weren't there to make sure he was safe.
That was
Like,
sad.
That was really sad. That was such a throwaway scene, like a really brief scene, but such a huge scene for developing Flash as a character.
Plant those seeds is great. I love
Yeah.
Ned and
I
Betty.
love it. Ned and Betty were
it.
freaking funny, man.
Whirlwind
God.
romance.
Peter, he's looking around the bus.
Ned and Betty
He's like,
were like
"No,
how
no."
I imagine Harry and Gwen to be if they did them in these movies. Except, well, Ned's not like freaking rich.
What about American bachelors in Europe?
Where's my boy?
I love that on the bus, like Peter's looking around at the glasses and seeing everyone's text messages, and he's like, "No, this is wrong." He looks over. The two of them are like, "Miss you,
Miss you.
The little thing.
I I love the periphery characters in this movie. This has the
chaperones
best.
are godlike. I don't know what their names are.
This is the best supporting cast in any MCU film.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll never get over it.
MJ was cool.
MJ was
she was
great.
They
love her.
they were so adorable.
What a turnaround, man! I mean, I liked her in the first film, but man, they really made her
They
likable.
just doubled down on everything that made her good.
Yeah, she was great, absolutely great. I loved it. I am all on board with making her this universe as Mary Jane. Whatever, go for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm all
She's
for it, man.
Michelle Jones.
I don't care. Whatever. MJ, it doesn't matter. Give her some red hair, please. Give her some red hair. Let her dye it because she looks great in red hair. Please, just do that. I'll be good.
That bridge scene with Peter and MJ was so good. Like when he like accuses her. Well, I mean, like kind of calls her out for why she was spying on him the whole time, or like just watching him all the time. It's like, wait, were you just watching me because you thought I was Spider-Man? Like that kind of cut deep for her for a moment. Like she didn't even know what to say.
Yeah, that was really good. And then of course she lied about it and it hurt his feelings. And it was such
The
like
relationship in this movie is really good.
yeah, it was such a realistic scene though. Like, of course she would be nervous herself, and of course she would be like a little like hesitant to reveal that she likes him too.
Yeah.
And in doing so, it kind of hurt his feelings. And it was good. It was a good scene.
It was
I liked
top tier. They have dethroned Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone.
Yeah, they did for sure.
As best Spider-Man relationship.
Wasn't very hard to
I was
do.
reflecting on it the other day. It's like I did love Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone a lot, but their relationship was definitely more of a like movie romance than it was a realistic one. This is far more realistic in terms of like, a
Which
relationship.
is ironic because they were actually dating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had chemistry. It was just like the actual romance itself is very much a, it's like a romance film.
It's by the numbers.
Yeah.
The plane scene with the perfume allergy is probably my funniest moment in the movie. That was like iconic. Peter Parker just gets screwed over so bad.
That's one of those scenes I love for like really portraying Peter Parker's character so well. Like
Yeah.
that's a totally
That was a Raimi scene.
like that's totally
But
Peter
just
Parker.
I just
to have
I
happen.
just
and
love
it backfires. So
friggin' Brad, hey, I got a headphone adapter. You want to watch a movie? And then the teacher's like, oh, I see you got a headphone adapter. We can watch something.
And I swear we saw his soul leave his body.
Watch people die.
Remember that scene where Nick Fury, quote unquote Nick Fury, relocates them, and then Peter's in that room with the lady and has to take his clothes
Oh my
off.
god.
That
That one also felt a little
Gets
artificial.
caught.
Like just a smidge, but I can forgive it because it was funny.
Brad, wait, no, you can't do
you're
this.
artificial.
I mean, no.
I know.
There was another scene.
Brad freaking takes a picture.
Who does
Look.
that?
They
I
even
know
address that. They're like,
I know
"He
you
took
like
a picture of me
MJ.
in the bathroom for some reason."
Oh, gosh, dang it. There was another scene that was really funny, but instead of mentioning that while I think about it, I thought that was really cool how they kind of referenced Endgame with the final battle. Oh, okay, that was it. So the final battle, he's on the bridge. His web shooters don't work. He's trying to get up the Mysterio. He's got a shield and some device, and for a moment he has that pose like Cap in Endgame where he has the hammer and the shield. That was
that
excellent.
was so good.
The thing I really enjoyed, this is two parts. First of all, his Spidey sense not working. It was a little funny. I'm not on board with what they call it.
The Peter Tingle.
The Peter tingles.
The Peter tingle.
My Peter tingles are tingling.
It
I
just-
didn't realize until later that they're both parts of the phrase are a double meaning. It's not just the word tingle, but
See, no, it just doesn't sound good to me. That's all.
it is not meant to sound good.
Yeah, so I'm much more a fan of Spidey sense. However, on that topic, when he gets it back, gosh freaking dang it. That hallway fight scene where he's only using his Spidey sense and like the music
Really
stops and
Oh,
he's
that
just
was
kind
so
of flipping
sick.
around taking out drones is beautiful. It is absolutely one of the best.
Agreed completely.
And the last thing I want to say on the Spidey sense subject is it's kind of funny how in the second Spider-Man movie, for this MCU iteration, he also loses a portion of his spider powers, like in Spider-Man 2. I don't think that was intentional, but in Spider-Man 2, he just completely outright loses his powers, and then in this, he loses his Spidey sense. It's never elaborated why he lost his Spidey sense, but he has it now, and that's a good thing.
Solid.
Alright, guys. Is that everything?
Yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted
I
to
think
say.
so, yeah.
I guess if
The elementals were really cool.
elementals were cool, they kind of fall by the wayside. They're easy to forget because
Yeah, but they were
there's so
really
much of the
impressive.
movie.
Oh no,
is so
I
good.
gotta say it. I have to re-clarify how Eljay already briefly touched on the hallway fight. The action in general. That was
So
one of
good.
my biggest,
Oh,
that was one of my
the
biggest
action in
complaints
general
about
was really
Homecoming
good.
was like that he doesn't know how to fight, and a lot of the fights weren't very not that exciting. This movie was like, yeah, haha, we did that to set you up for it. We had to grow into it first. Then we're gonna deliver
telling
all
you.
the spectacle. All the
Kept
spectacle.
Yeah, man,
Kept telling
that
you.
alone is like one thing that brings this movie so far up for me. Like, I liked Homecoming a lot. Sure, the stakes weren't all that there, but I always said from the beginning that the one thing I wish it had was more action, better choreography in the action department. And then this movie delivers on that. So I'm like, oh, it's
I was
so
in awe. Everything
so
from the
good.
elemental fights to like the ending fights with the drones, just to Spider-Man like actually swinging on the tall buildings at the end. And
I do wish
utilizing
we
his
saw
full
more of
arsenal.
Spider-Man beating up actual people.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds, but
I
They
mean,
cut
yeah,
that
like,
scene. They
this-
cut the scene with the Infinity War suit.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
the Iron
being
Spider
moved
suit.
to a short film on the DVD.
Oh,
It's
okay.
weird. It's weird because they had that whole thing going on in the trailer, and then it never happens in the movie at all.
Well,
Usually, it's a small thing that pops up
Well,
in a trailer and doesn't come up in the movie.
The director did an interview, and I think they intentionally put the scenes in the trailer from the short film to like fake people out, but it's all like gonna be on the DVD.
But that's such a
Interesting.
dumb fake out too. Like
Yeah.
it's not like in the it's not like that scene does anything in the trailer to make you believe the movie's gonna go in a completely different way than it did.
Exactly.
It was just, oh cool, Spider-Man fights some dudes. Oh, what? I guess he doesn't fight some dudes. Woo, I got fooled.
It's a joy, yeah.
The CGI in the Iron Spider suit looked awful in this film. I'll say that.
See, I don't know
Look,
how much of that was
really
the
bad.
CG and how much of that is I don't like the Iron Spider suit. I've
I mean-
never liked it.
Well, he
think
looked
it's
kind of
okay.
he looked chunky, like he didn't have a neck.
Yeah, okay, yeah. He kind of looked like a Spider-Man bootleg Ultra build.
Yeah, it was here. Actually, here I'll link a picture.
I don't think the CGI was a little shoddy in the movie in general, but that was definitely one of the worst things, for sure.
Like, look at Spider-Man's freaking neck compared.
Yeah.
to, like, what's going on?
Chunky.
Compared to what it
Yeah,
used to be, that is a good point.
he put on some weight. It's weird.
Yeah, everyone else.
Yeah,
wearing
I don't know,
pictures
because
up.
that definitely goes down to the CG, since he's like usually he's wearing the suit, right, and then they just CG on the mask. Because
Well-
I know that they filmed some other stuff where
Not
he's-
for the
Well,
Iron
this
Spider
suit
suit.
is
I believe
different.
that
They
one's
used
completely
CGI this
CG.
completely.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess they just had a different. I mean, for the Spider-Man films, don't they have like a different CG department for that?
I don't know.
I
There was
don't-
an article about
Then
There was an article about
I know
this
with
a while
Homecoming
ago.
they did.
I think the article was something along the lines of it's the only MCU production with the CGI done by Sony or something. I forget.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Exactly what was said.
no wonder it's
Because
bad.
I believe that was the case with Homecoming, which explains why the suit looked really bad in that movie. And then, honestly, the flaws I saw with the Homecoming suit, I saw with the new suit in this movie too. I'm not gonna lie.
See,
I
I,
mean, I love
didn't
the way the
actually.
suit
As,
looks.
as someone who like really hated the Homecoming suit because it looked so fake, I actually thought the new suit looked really good. in
It
most
looked
of the
better,
scenes.
but it still had like some small issues. Like, for instance, the overly protruding muscles coming from it. That was the thing in Homecoming that made it look kind of fake because it looked way too skin tight, and it kind of had that effect in this movie too. You didn't notice it as much because most of the suit was black. So
They
it
also did
better.
They added battle damage to it really early on, which helped.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually probably what added to it was that they damaged the suit and it made it feel more tangible.
Yeah.
Whereas in the last movie, it looked like he was just a red
Spider-Man-
blue being.
Spider-Man: Homecoming's visual effects are primarily done by Sony Pictures Imageworks, not Industrial Light and Magics, the same people who did Amazing Spider-Man 2.
So, okay, well, then in that case, there's no real excuse there because Amazing Spider-Man 2 looked outstanding.
The spider suit looked good.
The suit looked good, but nothing
Think
else
about
did.
that final fight with Electro. That was pretty bad.
Okay.
You forgot my birthday.
Fair enough. In all fairness, I completely forgot that scene.
I just watched Amazing Spider-Man 2 the other day, dude. I saw that scene and I was like, God, this looks bad. Like,
After
Time
this,
to light my candles.
let's watch that scene again. I think that'd be a funny juxtaposition.
I like this scene. It's a cool fight. No, just
It's
yeah.
my birthday.
Great.
Time for me to play my dubstep.
And again, it's another thing where like anything. This is what I find fascinating, but just like media discussion, anything can be boiled down. We just spent like the last 5 minutes talking about how amazing the action is. I could say, I don't know, Spider-Man doesn't really fight anyone in this movie. He just like fights a bunch of robot drones. That's not what I want for my Spider-Man movie. You could cast anything in a negative light if you like really try for it, but the fight choreography was fantastic at every stage. It was wonderful. I was very happy watching it. All of my concerns were addressed, and you know what really makes it the best movie is there was no magic belt.
Okay.
So.
Shut up.
And with that, I
Go
think
away.
we're done.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're done.
Now we're getting the magic ending.
All right. Well, yeah, I love the movie. It's probably my favorite, at least next to the original Spider-Man 2. It's got to be my favorite one. I'm still debating which one I like more. I might have to watch. I think I have to watch this movie again, and then maybe watch Spider-Man 2 again. Decide.
Fathom a universe. Where
It's
Spider-Man-
easily my favorite Spider-Man movie, and I was hoping this was going to be the case because I had this theory before it came out that with every Spider-Man film they make, it's only going to get better and better, and it turned out to be the case here. So I'm quite content.
All right.
Yeah. But I did love the movie, and Mysterio's easily the best Spider-Man villain we've gotten in any Spider movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. All right. If anyone else has any final comments? If not, we
10
shall
out of
end.
10. Keep up the good work.
All right.
Looks promising.
Very, very promising. Like me.
Very promising.
All right. We'll see you all next week for another exciting episode of the TTV Podcast. Thank you all for listening. As with every week, we'd like to give a patron shout out. This week, the patron shout out is going to
We got a-
Green Tornado. What, man?
No, we got a patron back in the middle of the podcast.
Who came back?
He's Ash.
Oh yeah, welcome
How's
back.
Ash?
Here's
What it
Ash.
Welcome back.
How you doing? Welcome. Hello. Yes. Hi.
Hello and welcome.
I don't know if he's listening right now. So.
Well, whenever you
I think he was tuned in on the YouTube, but I'm not sure.
Whenever you listen, just let us know how you've been. LG can do music. We will see you all next week for the next exciting podcast. Once again, thank you all for listening. I'll just keep talking. Okay, there we go. I'm Meso.
I'm Var.
I'm Eljay.
I'm Ven.
I'm Invi.
And this was TTV. Leave your thoughts on Spider-Man Far From Home in the comment section below. We'd love to know what you think. And all your essays about why Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a better movie. I'm sure there's someone out there who thinks that. And if you do, please tell us.
There has to be someone out there definitely does think that. So,
I mean, I
very
definitely
wrong.
might be in that bank, but we'll see.
Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Oh no! Get out of here.
See you next week, everybody.
Don't make me laugh. Don't make me vomit. Don't make me die. Just all right. Bye.